Wahat al-Salam-Neve Shalom is a small village of people who chose Palestinians, residents of Israel, and Israeli Jews who made the choice to come and live together in coexistence as neighbors, as partners, and not as enemies. They made the choice. The first families came more than 40 years ago, 45, 6, 7 years ago, to a hill with no supplements, with an idea of building and coexisting place for the two nations, three religions. And they started from the beginning as neighbors, as partners, with nothing, just with an idea how we can make it in a reality that is not supporting this coexistence. Reality is very much divided between Palestinian and Israeli history, that is very also painful history between the two nations. In a state of Israel where the Palestinian, the Arabs are the minority, oppressed minority. And for my father, he made a choice to come and join this idea, still not a village, because he didn't want the Israeli Jews to be his enemy, but he wanted him to be his partners. So this was his first idea, came with my mother as a young couple, starting all together from the beginning. Then they had with other Israeli couples, they have children, and so what do we do with these children? Then all from here it all started idea. Then on the reality in a small hill between Jerusalem and Jaffa, Tel Aviv. Until today, we're making it truth.
So, Neve Shalom al-Salam is the only place in the world that Palestinian citizens of Israel and Israeli Jew decided to live together in peace, more or less. It's a very small community on a hill on the land of Latrun Monastery. And how many years? I would say it began in the early
On the late 70s.
Late 70s, early 80s, depends when you start counting. And slowly but surely people came. It began as a very small community and slowly got bigger and bigger, but today it reached to a stage between between 80 and 100 families, and maybe now when more people are building in the new areas, so it could be around 120, but still very, very small place. So it's very limited in terms of land, in terms of where people can live and how many people could live. But kids are coming back, growing their own kids there. There is a primary school where people live together, they study together, and that's it more or less, I think.
Oh, let's get some terms. You said Israeli Jews, Israeli citizens of Israel, Palestinian citizens of Israel,
Arabs.
How would you describe yourselves within that, Maayan?
Okay, so how would I describe myself? Wow, that's not a question you've been asked every day. I would say I'm a citizen of Israel, and I'm Jewish. Yeah, I was born to a Jewish family as a Jew. Yeah, that's it, more or less, I would guess.
Well, also the identity and the terminology is always flexible and is always has it's in the process. So maybe a few years ago I had other kind of description, like I'm a Palestinian Muslim Arab woman. Today I'm just saying I'm Palestinian. I think all of the others is very clear that I'm Muslim, that I'm woman. Arab, that I'm speaking Arabic also. But when I'm saying, I'm like meeting someone, telling him I'm Palestinian. This is my I short it in one word.
Mm.
If I want it to be long, I can say I'm Arab Palestinian woman.
Makes sense. I want to ask about your parents because you both grew up in the village. So you're saying your father chose to. What do you think made him choose to go and live there? Like, what happened in his life that made him decide, actually, I'll do this?
I'm the first Arab girl to be born in the village, in this hill of Wahat al-Salam-Neve Shalom. My parents were from the first couples that arrived to this hill. My father and mother, they're from the Galilee, from the north of Palestine, Israel. My mother is from the city. My father is from the village. So my mother from a big city, the biggest Arab city, to come and to a hill, it was very like challenging for her. No electricity, no water supply, nothing. And for my father, he's the oldest son of the sheikh of the village. So also it was very challenging to leave. It was in the 70s to leave the village, the Arabic village, and for everyone, they were started speaking that the son of the sheikh left the village to live with our enemies, with the Israelis. It was very challenging. I think the things that he carried on, wow, I think he had to be very strong in order to carry it and bring us to this kind of new life. When he was asked why did he do it, he said, well, the first time he met Israelis, Jewish, it was when he was 18 or 19 years old in university. So it's okay, we are in Palestinian, he lived in Palestinian Arabic village inside Israel. The Israeli villages were surrounding him, like in a reality that the Israeli villages are taking Palestinian lands and building on them the Israeli villages. So they were the enemy, the one that are taking our lands. And for him to meet this the other side in that 19 or 18 years old, it was too late. He wanted to meet them face to face from very early age. This is why he chose another reality for his family or for the girls. And if I want to be also more challengeable, he brought 3 daughters, then the 1 son. And to bring 3 daughters to this reality also is very challengeable for the Arabic society that days. I think he had a lot in his shoulders, in his back, in his heart, that he could face all of this challenging reality. I can say very hard talks about him, but to create something else.
Why is it particularly challenging for girls?
For girls? Yeah. Because in our society, in traditional society, in our society, they will always examine the girls. I mean, they, as a boy or as a man, I mean, you are guaranteed in a way. Like you can work wherever you want, wear whatever you want, do whatever you want. But as a girl, you are always under examination. Okay, so this al-Salam who left the Arabic village, he has 3 daughters. How will his daughter react? How will they address? Will they address like Israelis, like European, or no? How will they act? How will they have boyfriends? Yes or not? Will they marry as a traditional way? Yes or not? How will it's all the time under examination. How will he raise his daughters? And I think if he wasn't that strong, he couldn't face all of this difficult reality from his own people.
What was the reaction of Israelis to your family moving
to there? We are very much flexible, and I think in the process, like in the last 70s, when he made this choice to come, in the reality of Israel/Palestine, it was still forbidden to say the terminology of Palestine. No Palestinian symbols, no Palestinian flags, nothing. It's forbidden to say I'm Palestinian. We were saying we are Arabs, Arab citizens of Israel. This is why we are all the time in process and in dynamic reality. So for Israel, for them, when he met, he came as a partner. So it was, yes, they were pioneers. It was something new for them, also for the Israelis. For the first time they meet Arab friend or partner, it's in this age. And they all had a dream, We had a dream to create something very different from the reality that is surrounding us. And they all faced difficulties from their own nation, from their own people. And I think if my father couldn't or was not that strong, he couldn't really continue in his way and with us.
Maayan, your parents also moved there early on? Like, how did they end up there, and how did you end up growing up in the village?
Wow. So my family is very like I have a lot of different origins. Like many Israelis, a lot of my families are immigrants. Actually, I have my grandfather is from Yemen. My grandmother, she's from Iraq, and her father was from Yugoslavia back then. And my father's father is American, and my father's mother is from South Africa. So it's a lot of mix. But my mother actually grew up in Jerusalem, and she didn't see any Palestinian people until actually the war, the 6 Day War, and she always tell the story of walking in Jerusalem and seeing like a crowd of people just passing by, and she was asking her parents, who are those people? And they told her those are Arabs, those are Palestinians, and she was said, those are Palestinians, because she was always hearing about the horrible creatures, about the Palestinians, how horrible, and said, no, they're human beings. So from a very early age, she felt a mismatch between what she felt and the rest of the people around her. But at the same time, there were days of war and people were afraid, and people always felt in danger, that they're always in a survival mode. So for her to make the move to the village was a hard step to do. But my parents believed that we live in this region together and we have to know each other. We have to grow up together to understand what is this place and to make a better future. That's how they saw it. And yeah, for her to grow, she came from a very conservative way of growing up, a very conservative place in Jerusalem, and to go to Neve Shalom or al-Salam is just such a big gap. So I guess that's something that happened to most of our parents, that they came to the village. They didn't really understood what exactly there is the contract. The fact that you come to live with your neighbors, you actually put yourself in years of dealing with the conflict. Not like other places that it's homogenic and it's your own culture, your own language, your own story, your own narrative. It's so much easier than every day to deal with this conflict. So it's very, very challenging. And I think the parents, the pioneers, you would call it, they really had a hard time. And for us, it's easier for us kids. And I was born there. So for me, it's the only thing I know.
What are some of the the memories, the earliest memories you have as a child of that? You described that way about there's a world where you always have to deal with the conflict. So as a child, what are some memories of like when that was really obvious?
So I think one of the first memories I have from the village, it's a very political one, and it's actually I address this topic in my film as well, is being in kindergarten, more or less. That was the early 90s, and there was election, and I have no idea what are elections, but I'm in kindergarten, and then I hear some words, and I hear everybody is for this person named Rabin, and I don't know who is this Rabin guy, but everybody wants him because why? Why do we want him? He's gonna make peace. So, oh, peace. We want peace. Oasis of Peace. That's where we live. So peace is a good thing. We want Rabin. We want him to be elected. And then there was the election, and he won. So for me, wow. So I wanted something, everybody wanted something, and it's all connected to me because it's peace, and I know already that this place has something to do with peace, and I know my friends are Arab. It's not a significant thing for me, but it's a thing. So he's being elected. So for me, that's like a progress. That's a process that I can slowly understand. And he says that he's gonna do peace, and slowly but surely start doing those um, peace records. You know, they start doing the peace with Jordan and the Oslo Accords, and we got this excitement. I remember this excitement. I remember, you know, in the Oslo Accords, people were there. They all hang out in what we call the village clubhouse, which was a very small, tiny caravan, and all the village was there. And I'm very short, so I can't see anything. And like people are standing in front of this really small TV and waiting. And when we're shaking their hands, everybody's applauding, and there's like a lot of happiness in the air. I really remember all of that. And my parents were going to, like, there was peace rallies and another peace rally, and it was like a big thing, and all the village were going there. And there was this peace rally that I really, really wanted to come. And it was very late, and we came back from the road and was supposed to do it, and I fell asleep on the car. And I woke up in the morning, and I'm like, oh, I missed it. We didn't go. And my parents just told me, no, he was killed. What, who? Like, Rabin was killed. And this whole dream I had just crashed in front of my face, really. And I was 95, I was 7, you know. So that's a very early age to deal with this type of loss, I think. So I think that's something I dealt with in the film, you know, this whole naivety that suddenly crash in front of your face as a child. So
have you come close to feeling that again since you were 7? That sense of maybe there's a...
Actually, it's funny you're asking this, because I have these 3 points in my childhood that I remember. First, it was Rabin. Then a year later, who died? Bruno. He was the
Bruno Hussar.
Yeah, Bruno Hussar. He was the one who established the village. And then a year later, and every time I remember, it's like waking up in the morning, and then my parents telling me. So and a year later, I wake up in the morning, and my mother's telling me that Tom has died. Tom Kitain. And this feeling of just waking up in the morning and you don't know what's something. As a child, I remember something that's very shake your, you know, the foundation of how you grew up. This feeling is very, like, it's a very fundamental feeling in, you know, that shapes your personality.
Yeah, it seems like childhood in the villages steeped in politics and all the time. Are there times, Shireen, where it was just what you might describe as a normal childhood? Yeah.
We say everything is politics, and politics is everything. Like, everything has a politics meaning side for everything, even for a glass of water. I also remember as kids, we were going a lot with my parents to demonstration. It was in Tel Aviv. We were screaming the same things 40 years ago, like today. Shalom, ken, kibush lo, yes, peace, yes, occupation, no. And wow, it's like the same things for over than 40 years for me. And it puts me in a place to think, like, okay, so we are screaming the same titles. Peace, yes, occupation, no. What do we do? What should we do more? I think, yes, first as a child, I think we had a very unique childhood. And it was, as I said, the hills. We were just few children. He's much younger than me, so I don't count him in my childhood because, you know, I was older and and more able than him in doing things. Like, I was running faster and everything in childhood terminology. But we had, I think, a fantastic childhood all around, playing football, baseball, sneaking into the swimming pool, and everything that a nice childhood could be. And then Oslo Agreement came, and for us it was, wow, the big hope of peace, and this is going to be. And in this demonstration where we were supporting peace for the first time, and Rabin was killed, and we were there. So we were looking at everything that is collapsing. It was, as I say, Wahat al-Salam-Neve Shalom is me, and me and Wahat al-Salam, peace is us, we are the peace. And okay, so what do we do now? I mean, okay, now it's challenging again. We had the hope, we had things are going to be better, and it seems that it's collapsing. How do we still, what do we do? I mean, where will we go? What will we do? And everything. We have an urge, like I'm working, my work is to be a facilitator for groups in conflict. I made all of the courses inside the village. I went to the primary school, then now I'm working in the School for Peace. It's the organization inside the village that is making a dialogue for different kind of groups all around us, like it's inside Israel, Palestine, and abroad. I'm working with conflict is my life, is my work, is my job. I'm also a mediator, I'm a translator. So conflict is me and them conflict. And how do we deal with it? We have crisis also. Not always it's easy. But I need to find hope always. It's not easy to find hope, but I'm seeking to find hope. And I think this is my faith, to find hope, to find the peace, to find energy to continue.
Practically, with the School for Peace,
yes.
How does it work, and who are the types of people that come into the School for Peace to study with you, and what do you do with them? What are some components of dialogue and mediation that you can share?
If I start to say what do we have in the village? Like in the village, we're living together, but we want to spread our work. We are living Jews and Arabs, Palestinian, Israeli, side by side in an equal number, but we are very much limited in a land. So we can't accept a lot of families that want to come and join us in the community. But otherwise, we want to spread our idea. How do we spread it? By education. First, we have a primary school, so it's from nursery babies till the 6th grade. And we have students from all around the area that are coming to study in this form of bilingual, bicultural way of Wahat al-Salam-Neve Shalom. But this is primary school. How do we do it with adults? How do we spread our idea, our ideology? They built in the 80s, when also the village was built, the School for Peace. The School for Peace, his aim is to make a dialogue between groups in conflict. And I don't know, thanks God or not, but we have a lot of conflicts all around us. So we have also women group, we have Palestinian Israeli group, we have Palestinian Israeli inside Israel. We have different kind of groups that we are working with them. And how do we do it? Usually also we are aiming for the two groups, Palestinian and Israeli, equal number as much as possible. We have the two facilitators inside the room, Palestinian and Israeli. We are trying to be as much as equal also gender-wise and other things. And we are sitting in a circle with an open dialogue that we are saying we are creating a safe zone inside the circle to speak up, and we do encourage to say what we think, what we feel, how is it influencing our life. We work a lot with a lot of conflict methods of Freire, Fanon, and other conflict terminology, psychoanalytic terminology, and we do it as two facilitators. We aim to do it in the bilingual way, Arabic and Hebrew. As a reality, also the dominant language is Hebrew inside the room. But we are trying, as also the village, to make an equal room for all of us inside this circle or inside this room. So we have several kind of groups. As I said, we have teenage, we have adults, we have work professional groups like doctors group, or a nurse group, or engineering group. Each time, or we have like in university students group. We have sometimes a title group, and sometimes we have like an open group for everyone.
Who's the hardest group to work with? The adults, the young people, engineers?
Well, we make fun, the facility, the team, we make fun. When you work with engineers, they sit like this. This triangle should be in a different shape, or this room, it should be built like a different way. Like, they have other things to say. With the doctors, they have also other kind of terminology inside them. Psychologic, for me, psychologic is very, they have a lot of psychological philosophy speaking in the room about, emotion and the heart inside you, and everything about your childhood process. So you see it indifferently. Like my professional group, usually I work with a environmental justice group, and we just had one now, also during October and before. And for me, it's also a very interesting group. We are talking about justice and environment in the same level, or in the same group.
Amazing. I want to ask about the film. First of all, you're also here for Children of Peace. You're both children of Oasis of Peace. Maayan, you directed the film. What made you want to make a film about where you grew up and your life?
So I think growing up in this village, mostly in this very complicated area, is it can be a bit challenging for a kid, and growing up and going out of the village is even more challenging. Like the childhood, like Shireen said, is beautiful. You don't think about the stuff. It's transparent for you. You just play with your friends, and I think that is the most wonderful thing, just to let people grow together and to feel equal. They don't need to think about it, they don't need to talk about it, just to feel equal, because they're just playing together in soccer. It doesn't matter who you pass the ball to. But then you go out and things are different outside. And for me, specifically, I felt that back then, when I have had to go to high school, I actually split it up for my friends, for my Arab friends, and I always felt that I miss something. I miss this feeling of belonging to the place. And then when I finished high school and I thought now it's the time, then what happened? Then you go to the army, and an army is another big issue in the village. So I grew up with a lot of questions and a lot of feelings that I felt, unsolved. So for many years, that's how I treat my my questions. I just go and confront them with my camera. So I use my camera in order to be an excuse to go and speak with the people I grew up with, and I had an excuse. I would never just sit with Shireen and ask her all those very interesting questions and very hard, complicated. Like, we had a very interested and complicated conversation that we never had before, and I could do it only because I had a camera there. So it was really, really such an amazing journey for me, even before the film was ready, just to go and start asking the people and talking to them, and finding out that most of the things I was afraid of were between me and myself. And so that was a wonderful journey to me. I learned so much about, and then at the end of the day, suddenly I had a film. Yeah, I didn't plan it to be what it was. It just was like, like a roller coaster of emotions. And then I had a film, and suddenly people are seeing it and watching it, and suddenly I'm walking around, like traveling around Israel, traveling around the world, presenting it, and it started at something so personal to me, very emotional, very personal, and suddenly it's this thing, that I have, and I go and walk around, and suddenly I represent something. I represent the Israelis, I represent the Jews, I represent Neve Shalom, I represent, and it's interesting how this thing developed. And suddenly October 7th, so everything has so much more, I would say, like the feeling of importance, like feeling of, being this voice of an alternative, like a very clear voice now. Like it was always clear to me, but now it's even clearer. The stakes are high, you say, right? And it gets higher and higher. I really feel we're in this very extreme point in history that it can get worse, or we can stop it before. So that's how I feel, and I think one of the ways is to spread stories like me and Shireen are spreading with the film.
You say that as you were making the film, you realized that some of the fears you had were only between you and yourself. What are some of those where you went, oh, actually, this is just me, everything else is fine? So explain that more.
I think I grew up in a way feeling that I'm drifting away from the village slowly. I felt alone. I felt that I'm drifting away from the village, that I'm very far away in many ways, for many reasons that and I think going and talking to my friends, talking to the people, I just felt so much closer to them than what I felt I was. I think that's a lesson for everything in life, just to go and confront your fears and start talking with the people. Most of the time you understand that there's a very big gap between what you feel and what you're afraid of, and your anxiety, and suddenly confronting it and talking to the people. And I think it's something that we do in the village. We confront the biggest fear of living together, for example. People always like to watch Neve Shalom and see all the imperfectiveness, how you would say, imperfections, and say, oh, you see, this place is a failure. It doesn't work. You're fooling yourself. And I think it is what it is. It's normal. People are just people, and the only difference is that we're dealing with it. We're confronting the problems. Even though we don't always succeed, we still confront it. We deal with it. We talk, we fight, we argue, but at the end of the day, we still stay neighbors. We still try. We still continue. Instead of letting fear control my decisions, and then whenever you let fear control your decision, then you start wars and you fight and you kill and you destroy, and the other side is your enemy and the other side is a monster. And whenever you feel fear, you cannot argue with your fears. You cannot say you're wrong when you're afraid. I cannot pass the road because I'm afraid some car will go fast and kill me, which at the end of the day it could happen. But I will never cross the road. So that's what I think. I think dealing with fears is important, and mostly in Neve Shalom, if we talk about this in this topic.
As you were making the film, did you go on a journey of sort of having those doubts about is this are we kidding ourselves? Is this really possible? What's the point of this? And then, or did you never feel that way? Or did you always feel like I know this is?
I would say, like, a generalization that maybe is totally wrong, but I think everybody who lives in the village have this doubt, even if not once a day, but like a lot of times. Like, this doubt is just something you learn how to live with. Are we fooling ourselves? Is it possible? But I always remind myself that it's not like the gap in the village is so far away that it's not possible. The gap in reality is so extreme, and in Neve Shalom is a bit shorter. It's a bit smaller, the gap. So even when it looks the most impossible thing to happen, then do zoom out and I see reality and I see how reality is so crazy, they understand, okay, so there's a process, how you say Rome was not built in one day. So it's a process. It's something that you need to go through. So of course you will have doubts, and nothing is perfect, as I said, and we really, in times of war, those two nations, two people, each believe in their own rights to exist, but each have to compromise in order to make this happen, and those compromising are very hard to do. But we're living it de facto in the village. That's reality.
There's something about making a film, being in a photo, or being in a movie, especially documentary, which freezes you in time a little bit. So this was made before October 7th, and when you were asked by Maayan to be in the film, how did you feel about saying things that you don't know what's going to happen in the future? I guess no one does. How did you feel about the potential of things you were going to say, and the film itself would be frozen in time in some way? And how did you feel, apart from that, about being in this film?
As also Gray, as being in the village, or as being few kids in the village in the 80s, we're very much in touch with media. Like a lot of media from all around the world used to come to the school, the primary school, to our houses, to the community, to see what's going to this coexistence, or this village you are talking about. How is it? So we are used to be in the media very much, to speak around. We used to go also, because Wahat al-Salam-Neve, the village is very much supported with the friend organization all around the world. So we are used to go abroad, to Italy, to the US, to Europe, and around, to speak about the village. What is this village is about? What is special about it? How come it is special? And to speak about our own experience, our own life. So it was something very natural for us, and very, very much empowering. With all of the difficult reality of the first intifada, of the second intifada, of the tension in between. It was always a tenseful reality. It was not easy, but this is what made our village very special and unique. And it was not about Maayan. It was not the first time I am in touch with him through the camera. Maayan was my photographer also in the wedding. So for me, he was very with me in very intimate life, like in the most important, like one of the most important days in my life. He was there to picture me. So, as I said, he was much younger, but still had a special feeling to his work, because also I love the village. This is my comfort zone. This is my special community that I don't feel home somewhere else out of this community. And I have a lot of appreciation to all of this generation that was raised there with me, and that have these special days and experience with me. So when Maayan came with this idea that he wants to make a movie film about us, the kids that came through life story in the village, I said, okay, it seems very nice. I do appreciate this idea. Did I think it will be worldwide? I didn't think so. I think, like, okay, another story, another same, another name, another story, another film, but with a lot of appreciation to Maayan and his work. And for me, answering Maayan's question, so it's again very empowering, because I don't have a stage in the Israeli reality to speak about my own experience. How do I feel with politic events, or how do I feel in this crisis? I mean, who cares how do I feel in the Israeli reality? I mean, no one will ask me. But this, I felt a lot of care from Maayan and his movie in this film, in his movie. There's a lot of care, a lot of love and support to all of us. I think he appreciates us in the movie a lot. like we have a common ground inside this movie. And for me, it's very touching. It's very emotional experience to take a part in this movie and to speak. How is it for me? If you think about Tom Kitain, a soldier, or first intifada, second intifada, several kind of crises. Yet it is my life, and I am very happy to share it in your film, like to share my side in your own story. And I'm very privileged, I think, to think that it is influenced you. Like I feel a lot of appreciation to you and to your work.
Wow, wow. So first of all, thank you for having me, for hearing this answer, because that's so touching, and thank you, Shireen, for those wonderful words. I was surprised. I didn't know she was gonna say it, because for me it was so important to let the people I ask understand that they can trust me, and it is so difficult to have a trust for someone because you have so much responsibility on his life, on his story. I would never want to have someone walk around in the world feeling that there is a representation of himself that he don't feel comfortable, that will make him feel embarrassed, make him feel shame, make him feel that he doesn't want to be in. And it was one of the biggest goals I had in this film, to first of all, to let the viewer understand that there's a lot of different opinions, and it's okay. Like, you see the different opinions live, and you see that the fact that this person thinks this way and the other thinks another way doesn't reflect each one. The fact that you live in the village, that's already a fact.
A big issue.
That's the thing. You live in this place, it's already a say. Okay, I say that I want to live in this place, that there are different opinions around me. So this is the hardest step to do. I was just coming and asking the people their opinions. So I guess whenever you live in this very wide range opinion place, then you take the responsibility of being there. In the film, I really tried to show, first of all, that this is my personal film, that I'm sure that if Shireen will make a film, it will be a different film, totally different point in history that will be important to her, different questions, different people to ask. And even me, I had like a list of 50 people and I couldn't put them all. It was only an hour film and I had to decide, and I took only the first one who said yes. It was so random. Like Shireen was one of the only people that I really like tried again and again and again and again until she said yes, but all of the rest, like you were saying, yes, yeah, okay, so I'm coming. So I had a long list, but I really, really feel happy and touched by what Shireen is feeling, that this film, even today, she can feel empowered by this film. And I'm really inspired by Shireen and by what she said in the film, and the way she represents a strong, independent person that stands in front of his opinion, in front of everyone, and saying what she believes in. I think that's one of the strongest points in the film. And there's even a moment when I ask her about the meaning of words that I don't understand. In the film, we talk Arabic, and it was so nice suddenly talking Arabic and have a conversation in Arabic and ask her the question in Arabic, and suddenly she says a word that I don't understand, which is ittihad, which means occupation. Oppression, sorry. You see, I still... So I'm, as a white privileged Jew, don't know what oppression is, like symbolically. And I think one of the strongest moments in the film, that, you can see the gap. We lived in the same place. We so-called have the same conditions, but we don't. I grew up and I have my own rights, and then Shireen has a different story. And it was so interesting to me to see it from Shireen's point of view. And I think one of the important moments in the film is this moment.
We talk about moments. You talk about your 3 moments you had, and Shireen, you talked about the first intifada, the second intifada. What we've had in October was a moment in time where it felt like everything was going to be different. So, maybe this film has no relevance past October 7th. And I want to take us to that moment and ask what happened in the village, but also how did you both feel on that morning, and then how have those feelings changed in the last 8 or 9 months? So, you wake up on that Saturday morning and there's news, and what happened? Like, what happened on that day for you both?
Wow, so
Easy question, huh? Easy, very easy.
you want to start?
Well, we wake up in the morning, Saturday morning. Air distance, we are not very far from Gaza and from surrounding Gaza. And the house, we have an old house and it's shaking since the morning. I'm telling Mustafa, my husband, there's something is going on. I mean, my phone is, he said me, yes, the house was shaking from very early in the morning. And what do you mean a house was shaking? That there are bombs, some bombs and bombings, and there are things around. But I think no one really could figure out what's going on for a few hours, I think. The first thing, like with the first pictures, and oh my god, like it's oh my god, what's going on and what's going to be on. With my heart, oh my god, what's going to be soon on Gaza. Like, to take a deep breath, it was very, I think the first day we couldn't really digest what's going on and all around. Now 9 months after, still, like, my heart is, wow, my heart. Since then and today, and from the first moments, the Arab population were very much put it under silence. We feel that we can't really react in no kind of social media. It's not allowed to put like or any kind of prayer or any time of writing anything, saying anything. We are very much careful with the phones, with any, as I said, with any kind of statement. So since then till today, we don't really react, and I don't know what is safe to say or not, because many Arabs and other went into jail, were arrested for just saying, the most we can say moral sentences like my heart is with Gaza, or how do I feel, and they were very much arrested. So we're very much shrinked, I can say, the Arab population, not really expressing ideas, opinions, feelings. And if I want to take it like a step forward, okay, so how do we work with it? Like, I am working as a facilitator for groups in conflict. I invite people, the participant, to express themselves, their opinions. How do I make a safe zone when it's not safe at all outside? And I was working as a facilitator with environmental groups that are working for an environmental justice, and apparently what is going on that is nearby us has nothing to do with environmental justice. And how do we make a comfort zone? Can they really speak about their emotion, feelings, what is going on, yes or no? With all of this tension, we try to do it as much as possible to say, okay, we'll speak about our feelings, and we want to guarantee what we say in the room will stay in the room. It's something that is very much vulnerable in these days, in this period. In the village, in the community, from the beginning, there was, we are also young parents, we have young kids. From the beginning, from the first, second day, there was also a call, let's make a dialogue group, let's make a conflict dialogue, let's talk about things. So I remember Sunday, it was the second day after October 7th, we started as parents speaking with a lot of tears, a lot of emotion, but we started it. We used to meet because still in the first, I think, 2 weeks we didn't have any. We didn't go to school. The kids didn't go to school. Also with workplaces, we were have to stay in safe areas near the shelters. That for us is the school area, and we have their garden. So we made some kind of. We tried to make a safe zone for our kids also, where they can play, where they can make art gallery issues, and nearby the shelters. We tried because the parents, we were very much, I think, in unclear situation. We are very much also, okay, how will we express things to our kids? I mean, still we are all in a trauma in a way. Like they say also 9 months after we are still in a trauma. This is how they express it also in philosophic or in psychiatric terminology. We are still in this trauma, but a few months after. For me, yes, we had a crisis also in the village. It was not easy, but from the beginning we called for, we say, dialogue and for encounter, if it's uninational Jews by themselves, Palestinians by themselves, but it's also in the big circle, and we had a lot of big circle of talking about things with a lot of emotion, with a lot of heavy words to say to each other. But for me, like, it's a crisis, and it's for us an exam. If I see our life together in this community as a partner, every partner has crisis, and for me it's an exam. How will we continue after it? And today, this month after, I look at the community, no one left. And for me, it's a good result, because no one left the village, no one left the community. Yes, we have hard times, we we complain, we, but really on the ground, no one left the village. Because for me, as a Palestinian, as a woman, as Shireen Najjar, I don't see other place outside of the community that I will feel safe or comfortable, especially not in the Israeli society, not in the Israeli platform. Just the village, I find myself, and after October 7th, it made me feel it much stronger. And that this is the only place I feel comfortable, empowered, and in a safe zone, with all of the things I want to say and express.
So, Maayan, for you, what was that? What happened on that day and afterwards?
So I remember waking up very early, and my kids. I woke up for the kids, and I was still sleeping, and you can actually hear the sirens because we live next to a lot of bases, not only airplanes, also like police. So we got there were a lot of sirens, but sirens that don't stop, like the continuous sirens and sirens. And I felt something is off, and I was reading the news, and I kept it to myself. I was most of the time with my kids, and I kept it away from my wife as well. She didn't know. So, and I actually grew. I lived there in the area really next to Gaza. I lived there for 4 years. This is where I studied film. So I knew the places, I knew the people. I know people who died, people who were murdered, kids were murdered, people were kidnapped. So for me, it was very, very personal. And even peacemakers that I know in person that were kidnapped, that were murdered, and I felt a very strong relate to those people, because if I was living closer, that could happen to me as well. So the feeling was so shaking, and I think everyone in the whole region has shifted a bit. I remember having an interview about the film a couple of days later, and I used to have my automatic responses for every question, and suddenly I feel while I'm answering the questions that they're not accurate so much anymore. Like everything has shifted. So I'm still, even for today, trying to understand how I feel. And as Shireen says, I really believe we all in trauma. All the people in this whole region are in trauma, and we still don't know where it's gonna lead us. And this is why I think so many bad things are happening, because we're still in this being, traumatized for all reasons, not only October 7th, what happened after October 7th. But I think I will talk from my personal view is the fact that the world is so polarized these days, and you have one narrative or the other narrative, and then you have this media. If you will listen to this type of media, you will listen to this type of stories. And living in Israel, it's so clear. If you want to hear this news or this news, it's going to be like totally different. It's like 100% different. So living in a place like Neve Shalom is very challenging, because you get not only one stream of information, you get a lot of it, a lot of streams of information. And I think in a way I was holding a lot of sadness from all around, a lot of sadness, and I still do. And it's sometimes unbearable, because there's an obsession with the news. Going out of Israel, suddenly you see how normal it is not to be, in the news 24/7. It's not normal. So over there's the obsession of being in the news and having information. Like, if you will go now to the news channel, maybe now they will say there is a stop of the war, or maybe another 10 minutes now they will say there's a stop of the war. So it is so hard just to feel like I said. I think it's a feeling I feel all my life. This feeling of reality is just suddenly attacking you. You have no control of reality, and suddenly, boom, this thing happens to you. And you cannot control it, you cannot change it, you cannot do it. You can go to demonstration, but the feeling of helpless is just so strong that you cannot control reality. And I think everyone could say that the village is connected directly to reality. It's not like we live in a bubble. So even in the village, we had problems, and people were very, very sad, and they still are very, very sad. And things are, it was such a, and still is very, very hard days for everyone. And in the beginning, I really felt maybe the things could, fall apart. And Shireen was saying, it's something that now we don't think about too much, but there were rockets all the time, and you're thinking about all this stuff while still there are rockets, and you're thinking about your kids, and then you have your neighbor that he has a kid as well, and he's running away from the rockets. And so everything is so ironic, everything is so mixed up, everything is so confusing, and there's a lot of mixed feelings. But I think the strength of this community is the fact that what Shireen is saying, they decided to go and talk, and to have all those hard feelings, and to confront them, and to talk to them. And it was very hard. And I think the first couple of meetings were so hard, I didn't even want to go. My wife went, and she said it was very, very hard, but the meetings continue. And at least the meetings I got to be in, it felt suddenly in a way, like I forgot the word, but in a way it felt that people didn't want to let what we have to fall apart. That at the end of the day, even when we disagree on so many topics, there are things that we do agree about, and it's the fact that it is important to stay together. It is important to seek for a better future, a better solution. Even though all those words I'm saying sounds cliche, I think for me it's more clearer than ever that there isn't any other solution. There isn't. We can fight each other until we kill more and more and more and more people, and at the end of the day, it will still won't work. We need to find a solution to the thing. So I think that's something that was very clear to me on October 7th about the strengths of this type of community, even though it's not perfect, even though we still don't know what's going to happen and where we're going to lead us. And I'm not saying the war had done good to the community, but I'm saying it is just so clear how the war is not doing good to anybody. So, and I think just the last thing I would say is just the fact that, understanding that there is more than one way to tell the story, there is more than one narrative, and this truth is so much more complicated, so much more complex, and how people want it to be, how simplistic they want to show it, and it really can destroy me. Like, to see a media decide which faces to show, which stories to show, and to really make an angle that can be very comfortable to very specific people, and not to others, and the other, and vice versa. And it's horrible. And having both narrative and having all those sadness is just so hard.
My final question was going to be, if I could give you a magic wand, you can wave it and change one thing, what would it be? And you said, we both say the same thing, we both want peace. So I actually wanted to ask about that. What, after all of this, you both still live there, both raising families there. What gives you hope for peace, even in the context of everything that we've just said, and the sadness and the difficulty? What gives you hope for peace?
For me, it's faith. Faith, we believe in God, and God has 99 names in the Islam. One of them is the peace. So I believe in God's way. I believe in faith that inshallah things will be better. Yes, we are having hard days. We are having high violent days. But if I look back to the history, to the Prophet's life, to the religious sides, most of the good people had hard life. If it's Joseph, Sayyidina Yusuf, Joseph, or Muhammad, or Sayyidina Musa, we always say, like, the Prophet Moses, he was put it on the river and was raised in Pharaoh's house. Like, everything from the very hard days situation will come. I think the better days, the better situation. This is my belief, because it's the only way I can overcome the hard days, because I have a faith it will be better. I look at it from the history, from religion aspect, from other things, that inshallah, for me, for my kids, for other, it will be better. Like, occupation will not last, oppression will not last, and hard days will not last. Inshallah, for much better heaven days.
So for me, I think it depends which day you're asking me. Not every day it's easy to
in London. In Switzerland.
Yeah. So not every day is easy to get hope. There is a say in Hebrew that the darkest time of the day is before dawn. So I hope we are there. I hope it won't get darker. But I'm sure that reality will eventually prove that there is no other way. So my hope is that this reality will come sooner than later.
Thank you both so much. Really appreciate your time.
Shukran.
Thank you.